Well, I want to share some of my tricks I know about sports recovery and also how to not build up lactic acid in your body when you're doing some long endurance long distance. Now, this is not an option if you're in a race. And so it's a trick that basically used in the military. In other words, if you're going on a long distance hump or something, or a long distance hike, as you would call it in the civilian world, you would go out there, say, several miles, and you would stop for no more than 5 minutes. That's enough to give you a recovery, but not enough whereby you start getting, like, I would call it rigor mortis, whereby the lactic acid would start building up. But it's enough to give you enough of a recovery. You don't want to stop too long. You don't want to stop 15, 20 minutes. That's too long. 3 to 5 minutes are okay. That's something that's a trick that you really don't have an option with if you're in a marathon race. You just can't do that because you just need to get to the end. But that's an option if you're going out on a long distance hike, just going from point A to point B, and you want to conserve your energy in a way. But like I said, some people make the mistake. They stop and they stop for half an hour and then they can't get up hardly. So keep the stops to 3 to 5 minutes or so, maybe 6, 7 outside. More like a few minutes would be best. This way, the lactic acid won't build up in your body. Now, one of the advantages you have with working out in a gym is that you have a lot of safety because you're right there. You can stop anytime. You're not out there in the middle of the boonies where you have to know you have to come back. And um, what I'm going to bring up here is how to recover quicker from just, I would say, a lot of times there's muscle soreness, but then there's also lactic acid buildup, which can lead to acidosis, which can be hard on your kidneys and also your liver. Sometimes if you're, you know, this could be also a medical problem, but sometimes you can actually induce blood in your urine if you're out there running in the desert for many miles. You get so dehydrated, it's really, really tough on your kidneys, and you have a lot of lactic acid buildup. It's a lot safer doing the exercise in the gym because, well, one, you're not worried about the elements. Number two, you can always stop and get some water, and also drinking plenty of fluids as it goes a long way to stopping lactic acid buildup and possibly even worse, acidosis. Acidosis could be a major, major problem. It's very hard on your kidneys. It actually could be very hard even on your liver and your cardiovascular system. Now, one thing they do not teach normally, and this is a truism. It's not. It's a truth. It's known for many, many, many years. Actually, this baking soda used to be prescribed by doctors, medical doctors, who are not just trained in homeopathic but also the conventional allopathic medicine. They were prescribing baking soda for just about everything. Now it's like gone out of vogue because there's not a profit in it. Now, just to get to another point here, um, baking soda, I know they have this brand, it's aluminum free. You do not really need to get that. Get it if you want, but if it says baking soda, not baking powder, it says pure baking soda, you're fine. It's the aluminum free is because it doesn't go through a processing with possible the processing equipment possibly having, since it's made out of aluminum, might have a tiny, tiny billionth of a trace of. Basically, all your food has this stuff, believe it or not. So if you buy processed food, it all has traces of something in it. If you're going to get that fussy, go do it across the board. Just want to get that out of the way. Now, with baking soda is one of the things that can actually, it's carbon dioxide, but also it raises the oxygen pump. And this goes a long way to bringing out balancing the pH in the body. Now, I know the blood in the body needs to be in a certain very narrow range of pH, but that's your body forcing it to be that way. In other words, if you don't take the baking soda, your blood's going to still be in that same narrow range of pH. But the thing is, it makes it easier for your body to keep the blood in that narrow range of pH by what you consume. And baking soda is alkalizing. Now, what I like to do is, because I don't like the taste of baking soda in water, you take a teaspoon of baking soda and you put it in water. I just don't like the taste of it. What I like to do is I like to put the lemon in the water, and then I'll put the baking soda in there, but I put a little bit, I'll put the lemon, and then I'll put a little water, and then I'll put the baking soda. But I use a very, very, very tall, it's not even a glass, it's a container, because it'll fizz up a real lot. And I put in the baking soda just a little bit at a time. But the combination of the lemon and the baking soda is even more alkalizing than the baking soda itself, and it tastes better. Now, somebody's going to say lemon is acidic. Lemon by itself is acidic, but the net effect on the body, it's the lemon ash, is very alkalizing. If you look at a chart of foods that are most alkalizing to the body, lemon is number one. I think number two is watermelon. And you would think lemon, you would not think that, because you can't go by the pH of the food itself. You got to go by what the net effect on the body is. But what I like combining this with the baking soda. It's legit. I mean, it's been out there. It's just that it's not well known. And the thing is that people really don't know about this very well for sports recovery when you have this lactic acid buildup. And this is a way to alleviate that, because it's alkalizing the body. It's purging the body of impurities. And what's going on with when you have this lactic acid, that's basically from burning fuel. It's the leftover remnants from burning fuel. And so when this builds up in the bloodstream, you will get, that's what causes the soreness mainly. That's the main reason you get the soreness, which I don't have. I've been exercising quite a bit, and I've been doing everything right. I've been fine. Now, if you're out there in the desert, and I remember I used to run all the time out in South California in the desert for about, I used to do an 8-mile loop in the hills. It didn't look like this kind of desert. It was Southern California. It's got greenery in it, but there was trails out there, and coyotes and rattlesnakes and all that stuff, and even mountain lion. I saw one of those one time. I was lucky that thing didn't go after me, I'll tell you that. Ooh, boy. And about 300 yards away. The can't outrun that puppy. But the thing is, when you're out there in the desert, you really don't have these options so much, and you really got to take a lot of water with you. Having a lot of water with you is one of the things that's really going to help you recover a lot faster, because it helps purge the lactic acid buildup. And that thing I said, when you stop for 3 minutes, that it does a certain percentage. It purges a certain percentage of lactic acid, but it doesn't allow it to build. I forgot how exactly it works. I know it does work. It's it's a golden rule. It's like people go out, they hump for they're out there on a hike and they're doing that stuff. They're out there for an hour or so. They did a few miles or whatever it is, and they'll stop for 3 minutes. But if you stop too long, you're going to get rigor mortis. Do not do that. Do not do that. Especially if you went out 10, 20 miles, well, not 20 miles, 10 miles, and you're doing a 20-miler, and you went out 10 miles, do not stop for an hour. You will have the most bear of a time coming back. You'll have rigor mortis like crazy. That's what a lot of people make that mistake. I found that out the hard way a few times, and now I'm very much aware of it. So, but a lot of times you think when you're on a run, you almost think you're a horse. You think you're an animal, and you're just out there and out there and out there. That's one of the safeties of being in the gym, because you got the water. If you're constantly drinking the water, you're not going to get as much lactic acid buildup. But it is a lot better that after you work out. I mean, I've got these sports energy drinks, and which to me are stupid in a lot of ways, because if you worked out and they make sense, like if you're out there on a marathon or you're on an ultra long distance bike ride, sports energy drink, but they're stupid as far as I'm concerned if you're taking them right after you work out. You wanted to burn up all those calories and stuff. You want to drink something, but you don't want a sports energy drink. So what I do is I make the baking soda and lemon juice, because that works directly against the the lactic acid buildup and the toxins that built up from doing a distance, whether it's in a gym or not. Now, if you're in a pool, you're not going to have this much problem. I want to point this out, because actually not only you're not going to overheat if you're doing the exercise in the pool, but you're also absorbing water through the skin. A lot of people do not realize this. Your skin can actually absorb water, and it can actually get into your body. It can help hydrate you. A lot of people don't realize that. That's an absolute fact. But sometimes people opt for this type of exercise because they don't have to break a sweat, and they're never overheated and things like that. But there's advantages to breaking a sweat because you're removing toxins out of your body. But it says as you break a sweat and you do that type of things, you you are actually straining your your entire system because you need to be rehydrated. And as you're expending more and more energy, you're leaving the byproducts from that expended fuel. Basically, it's a fuel it's a byproduct of the fuel that you can burned up to do the exercise, and that really was what causes the lactic acid buildup, or which can lead to acidosis. Acidosis is actually very dangerous. But one of the things, like I said, you could do is the baking soda water, and I prefer having the baking soda water with some of the lemon juice in it. Uh, One of the advantages of also bike riding over running, which I found this out after many years of running and never running right, but I was riding a bike for many years in a row. I used to put at least 3,000 miles on a year, just on a bicycle plus running, and that was way back in the day. But after many years of running, I discovered, hey, bicycles pretty cool too. But one of the advantages of it is that you got the water bottles, and you can carry, a couple good-sized water bottles with you, and you have a place to refill them along the way. That can go a long way. Now they even got the Camelback and stuff you can wear in the back, which I never did that. But you can go a long way without getting dehydrated. It's much more difficult if you're running and you got no water stops along the way. Bicycles, sometimes they can help, and just having that water, that can really help you a lot with recovery. Just the fact that you drank some water, and you can be drinking water while you're exercising on a bicycle, which is something you really can't be doing that. You can when you're running, but not as well. Um, but that's another thing. If you're keeping hydrated as you're exercising, you're not going to have as much problem with the lactic acid buildup afterwards. That's one of the reasons also it's great to work out in a gym versus out on the road. Now, another thing to do is, it's the final thing. If you get, besides, being hydrated, besides like if you're going out on a long 20-mile hike or whatever it is, making a little interval stop for 3 minutes or 4 minutes every hour to, purge out the toxicity that's in your blood. That works. Do not stop 20 minutes. Make it 3 to 5 minutes. Usually 3 minutes, 4 minutes would be better. But after, say, for instance, you're done with all the working out, and after some days you're starting to feel a lot of soreness or stiffness, that's the lactic acid building up. Again, you can do the baking soda with the lemon mixture, which I do that all the time. I think that's great. But another thing to do, and I've discovered this inadvertently, like my legs would be really sore from bicycling and running. What I would do is I'd go out for a walk, and I'd realize after a mile or two, I start feeling a lot better. Well, and then sometimes I would walk like 20 miles, but not at an extreme fast pace, but I'd walk 20 miles in that day. Then the next day when I woke up, all the soreness was gone. And I found out there was a reason for this scientifically, is that you're keeping the blood flowing, but you're not exercising hard enough to make more buildup of lactic acid in your body. So what you want to do is you want to keep the blood flowing. In other words, flowing more than if you're just resting and sitting around. You want to keep moving, but not moving at such a pace where you're doing hard exercise. You want to do like easy movement and constant easy movement. That will help purge the lactic acid out of your muscles, and actually that can even help with, even if you had acidosis, if you're doing that. Which, because extreme exercise can actually be pretty tough on your organs. And sometimes people are thinking it's really healthy for you. it can be pretty tough on your organs because not just your heart, but also your kidneys and your liver, because you are burning up a lot of fuel. And so it's very important of how you go about it, staying hydrated, what you eat, and also how you recover. But a lot of people are ignoring using the baking soda and lemon combination for recovery. And I think they ignore it because the information's it's proven. You can Google it all you want. Go ahead, Google it. You'll find information on how it helps with lactic acid buildup, acidosis, purging toxins from the body, which will help greatly with sports recovery. But you see, there's no financial incentive. In other words, somebody's not going to be able to come out there and they want to sell you specialty items that only they have and they prepackage, and it's our patented thing. It's not even like the pharmaceutical thing. It's like the exercise recovery people, whatever you want to call them. They want to sell you special products, and that's why you don't hear about this, because that's why you don't hear about baking soda all the time for a lot of things, because there's no profit in it. It does a lot for a lot of different ways, but this is another use. It's another use that people don't realize. And, it's dirt cheap. That's the other thing. And like I said, you don't need to go order online, the quote unquote aluminum baking soda, aluminum free baking soda. You don't need to do that, but do it if you want. I'm not going to argue with you, but I know that, when you get something that says pure baking soda, Arm & Hammer is pure baking soda also. It's not, I mean, the microscopic contaminants that are in the store-bought baking soda. Baking powder is the one you want to avoid. That might have aluminum in it. Baking soda is just pure sodium bicarbonate. They're splitting such hairs with how much trace amounts of whatever's in it. Well, everything you buy in the supermarket that's prepackaged processed foods with artificial colors and preservatives is way more contaminated than if you bought pure baking soda. Believe me, it's nothing. It's nothing. So anyway, anyway, so that's just enough on that spiel. So do whatever you want, but as far as that's concerned. But a lot of times people do not realize, how powerful some of the simple things are and some of the simple tricks are. So it's just a matter of getting the word out there, because there's really no huge financial incentive to push baking soda to address this, address that. I mean, it's like you look in the supermarket today, it's up there on the top shelf someplace in the back, and it used to be, all over the place. I mean, people were washing their clothes with baking soda, for crying out loud. Besides, the borax, they're putting the baking soda in there and everything. And it's a matter of, getting back to the basics of what we used to do. These things do work. It's getting back to the basics. It's basically, the mom pop old school way of doing things, and people have lost all that. So that's one of the beauties of YouTube. But at least we can get some of this information out there. Hopefully, over and out. Have a nice day.